Hi, I'm James McGuire, and on today's eSpeaks, we're talking about using technology to modernize financial services, particularly to satisfy the enormous demand for real-time intelligence. To discuss that, I'm joined by Donna DePasquale, Executive Vice President of Global Decisioning at Experian. Donna, thank you very much for joining us today.
Hi, James. Thanks for really having me on camera today.
I just want to ask you, before we officially start, how are you keeping up with this? It's the buzz of the holiday season. Everything seems like it's moving faster these days. How's life in your end of the woods these days?
Life here in DC is terrific. I've actually decided to get a head start on my Christmas and holiday shopping this year. And
Wow.
I also have a little bit of a family trip planned, taking my daughter to Toronto for some college trips.
Oh, okay. You might go to college in Toronto. That is so much fun.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Be an empty
Oh,
nester.
oh, okay. Well, there you go. All right. So let's look at the technology. I mean, what are some of the data and decisioning challenges involved with helping financial institutions reduce risk? Can you give us sort of the behind the scenes view?
I'd be happy to, James. And, in my role, we work with financial services institutions, telecommunication companies, retailers around the world, really to help them make better decisions about their customers, with their customers, while providing really simplified, streamlined services to them. And if I think about some of the challenges as they're doing that in the world that we live in today, it really, they're really faced with consumers who have lots more choices than they've ever had before. There's a rise in different kinds of credit options, different types of payment plans. We see through some work that Experian has done and some of our research that consumers more and more are using things like buy now, pay later plans or mobile wallets. And that's really driving businesses to invest a lot in digital transformation and business automation solutions. And as they're doing that, the bar for consumers is actually going up. So also in some of the research that Experian has done, we've really looked at consumers who are saying, even coming out of the height of the pandemic, 25% of consumers are doing more and more work online and transacting with their regular day-to-day life online. And their expectations are increasing more and more from that. And at the same time, their brand loyalty is coming down. So we have high expectations. People are looking for better and better services for their institutions to provide. And then even within the customer bases, what institutions are really faced with is sort of a growing diversity among their population. So we did some research earlier this year at Experian and noticed that about a good chunk of populations were ready to spend the disposable income that they had saved up during the pandemic.
Right.
But equally, there was a whole group of people who were still concerned about their day-to-day and managing their finances, particularly as the payment holidays and some of the forbearance programs that were instituted by governments were coming down. So the challenges that financial services institutions have really is about serving that very diverse customer base and doing it in a way that's delivering personalized, real-time, and meaningful experiences.
So in other words, that the audience is more diverse, the audience maybe is more fragmented, so actually reaching into each individual consumer in the way they need is now perhaps more difficult?
It's more difficult and more important than ever before. So delivering that personalized experience is something that consumers expect, right? They want to be recognized for who they are. They want the security and comfort in knowing you're protecting that information, but also that they're getting value back from the relationship that they have with you as a financial services institution or any other type of provider.
hmm Well, let's look at how things have changed. I mean, how has the data technology evolved over the last few years? Meaning, where are we now as opposed to where we were a few years ago?
Yeah, if I think about sort of the time kind of pre-pandemic, you would hear a lot of institutions talking about being interested in using AI and advanced analytics to help, glean information and act more and make decisions about their customers, but being a
Sure.
little bit concerned or not as confident about how they would go about doing this. Now what we're
For compliance
seeing
reasons, you
is,
mean? I'm sorry, no, do you mean for compliance and security reasons, or just the
well,
actual technology of it?
well, so part of it was that historically the bent was it could take like 15 months to go from creating initial model in the beginning to actually deploying that and getting it into a production environment. And that's sort of the mindset that was really sort of commonplace. And now with technology, what organizations can really do is take that and condense that time in just to a few months or even weeks. So what they're really doing is being able to take advantage of new types of analytics, new types of data sources, and being able to provide much better service and experiences to their customers in a way that they couldn't do before. So I think they're getting more comfortable about the technology, more comfortable about the value that it provides, and the security that can go alongside that.
If there was a financial institution would ask you for advice in terms of like, how can we use data to reduce risk? What would you say to them?
So as we're talking to our clients about reducing their risk, it really is sort of a dual track when we think about digital transformation. What we're talking about is automation and the insight together. And it's really about sort of bringing together what organizations are doing to improve the customer experience and their credit risk analysis and assessment, and aligning those capabilities together so that you're smoothing out the customer journey. So it's one customer experience. And we think about that not just at the point of origination or kind of opening up a new credit, but as you're doing ongoing cross-selling and upselling, and throughout the whole life cycle, even if somebody gets to a point where they need to go into collections, or they're having trouble making a payment, for example. But it's important to align that up around the customer life cycle. And what that really depends on is having, access to the most relevant sets of data and newer data types. So beyond traditional credit data into things around consumer permission data, using advanced analytics, and having decision automation that provides consistency of that service across the different channels that a consumer might want to experience. So it's integrating that and having the right sort of data analytics and technology to address to meet those ongoing needs, and recognizing that it's not sort of static. It's actually a very dynamic process, and really the benefit of what AI and the machine learning environments bring us is the ability to continue to update and enhance your strategies going forward.
That's really interesting. Well, let's just take a moment and look to the future of data analytics and the credit markets. If you look to a milestone or so coming up in the years ahead, what do you think you'd see?
It's hard to look at the future of the credit markets and financial services and not think about financial inclusion, James. I think that's a really important component, particularly as we think about the growing economies around the world. At Experian, we believe that all consumers deserve fair and affordable access to credit, and have in fact invested a lot of time and effort and resources in alternative data sources and consumer permission data. So you may know about our offering, Experian Boost, which is a great example of consumers being able to share subscription payment history, telco payment history, et cetera, in order to improve their credit profiles. And I think those are great examples of, reaching out to and expanding fair and affordable credit across different communities.
It's a lot of good stuff. Is there something that we do need to know about, data analytics and financial services? One sort of closing thought. What's important in that, in your view?
I think what's important is the ability to bring together the customer experience and credit risk analysis, so that what we're really doing is asking our clients to do less, but not sacrificing at all the relevance, the security, the privacy, and the convenience of those experiences. And it's really about bringing kind of a strong consumer credit experience across the board.
Interesting. Donna, thank you very much for sharing your expertise today. I definitely learned something. Thank you very much.
Thanks, James. Thanks for having me.